Not every roller coaster is a winner. Some manufacturers have made a series of duds. Some manufacturers have only made a bad coaster every so often. Some haven't even made a bad coaster. In this video, I will share the worst coaster from each manufacturer that I've personally ridden. I will list the manufacturers alphabetically. This will not include every manufacturer, just ones where I've experienced a handful of their coasters. I also am going to avoid listing kiddie coasters if they're simply boring, because I'm not the target audience. I will include kiddie coasters if they're painful. Let's start with Aquatic Development. This company exclusively builds mountain coasters. They tend to be rougher than those made by the competition. The Tennessee Flyer mountain coaster at Ober-Gatlinburg is noticeably rougher than the other rides, which is why it claims this spot. I actually like the setting and layout, but it is bumpy the whole way down. Aerodynamics. This defunct manufacturer is most well known for their innovations, one of which was the Mine Train coaster. But one awful one was Canyon Blaster at Great Escape. This ride originally opened at Opryland, and the layout made more sense there when it was in the woods. In its new home, it is awkwardly just in a field. Most of the ride does nothing. The only time you build up speed is the giant helix at the end, but that element jackhammers the train. Bolliger and Mabillard. This manufacturer excels at making smooth and forceful loopers, but their original coaster was a very uncomfortable experience when it ran as a stand-up, and that would be Apocalypse at Six Flags America. This ride had awful tracking, which made the directional changes brutal in those stand-up trains. You'd get a lot of headbanging and possibly some nut pain. The conversion to a floorless coaster helped this ride significantly, so now it's decently enjoyable. Chance Morgan. This will include rides built by Chance Rides and Morgan Manufacturing, and their worst creation is easily the toboggan. I'm not surprised most of these have been closed. This ride is awful because of the trains. You ride in these claustrophobic cages and your head is perilously close to the ceiling, so when you get airtime in the final few drops, you can easily smash your head. If you're not short, you'll want to slouch or else you will pay dearly. Custom Coasters International, or CCI. This wood coaster manufacturer often made great layouts, but one bizarre project they worked on was Underground at Adventureland. This was essentially a dark ride using a wood coaster ride system. You travel through each scene too fast to take in the details, but what you see does not look all that great anyway. The Din Corporation. This is another wood coaster manufacturer whose rides often became notoriously rough. Mean Streak at Cedar Point, specifically in the back row, was the worst coaster I experienced from them. The ride jackhammered ferociously, which was awful considering this ride's height and length. In the front row, the coaster was actually tolerable though, but I still am glad this ride was transformed into Steel Vengeance. Gerstlauer. This manufacturer has made a lot of great family coasters throughout the years, but Green Hornet High Speed Chase at Motion Gate Dubai is not one of them. Their bobsled coasters usually have solid airtime and laterals, but this one was oddly slow and lacking any forces, and it had a rattle to boot. Gravity Group. This wood coaster manufacturer spun off from CCI. Their worst coaster at this time is Switchback at ZDT's amusement park. This is a fun and unique shuttle coaster, but it has less airtime than their company's other coasters, and it has started to get a bit rough in recent years. Great Coasters International, or GCI. This wood coaster manufacturer is known for their twister layouts. Their first coaster was their worst in Wildcat at Hershey Park. This ride actually had a good layout with some nice airtime, but it got rough with time. The park tried changing the trains from PTCs to Millennium Flyers. That did help a bit, but the ride still did not track well, so this is another one that I'm glad was RMC'd. Herschel. This manufacturer made a lot of kiddie coasters, but their worst is easily Range at Yesterland Farm. This ride looks, sounds, and rides like a death trap. It is extremely uncomfortable between the poor tracking and metal seats. Hopkins. This manufacturer was most well known for their water rides, but they also made a few coasters. None were awful in my opinion, so by default, I have to pick Patriot at Castles and Coasters. It's a fine junior coaster, it's smooth, but not as memorable as their bigger coasters. Intamin. This manufacturer makes some intense and innovative rides, but their worst was Green Lantern First Flight at Six Flags Magic Mountain. I think this Zack Spin was originally a good ride, but shortly after it opened, the park severely dampened the free rotation. This caused you to take elements unnaturally, leading to pain, and it was even possible to get stuck inverted for prolonged periods of times, making the experience even worse. Mack Rides. This manufacturer started off by producing junior and family coasters, including many Wild Mouse coasters. Coast Rider at Knott's Berry Farm is the worst, solely because of a restraint modification. After an incident, these awkward shin guards were added. There is no clearance for any adult. These will be stapled into your shins, making the whole experience unbearable. Mauer Rides. This is another manufacturer that has made a lot of Wild Mouse coasters. The worst of the bunch is Gotham City Gauntlet at Six Flags New England. This ride can be solid if it runs unbraked, but I've had a few rides where the brakes harshly kick in, which is an uncomfortable slam, and it spoils some airtime and laterals later in the ride. Myler. This company has made a lot of good kiddie coasters, but Tumbleweed at Adventure Park USA is arguably the weakest one. It just doesn't have the feisty layout of their later rides. Pax Rides. This Russian manufacturer made coasters with the size and stats of a family coaster, but they often had ejector airtime fit for an RMC. I've liked all the rides from them that I've experienced, but the weakest is Wild Train at Park St. Paul. This coaster had good airtime in the first drop, and some solid elements later in the ride, but it was not as intense as their other coasters. Philadelphia Toboggan Coasters, or PTC. This wood coaster manufacturer made a lot of classic out and back coasters. Wildcat at Lake Compounce is the weakest. This ride did not have the best layout to begin with, and worst of all, it was never smooth, but it got extremely rough after the 2017 retrack. The new Millennium Flyer trains shuffle and jackhammer throughout. You are tossed around like a rag doll, and your legs will be painfully bashed into the center column of the restraint. The park is having Gravity Group retrack parts of the ride for the 2024 season, so it should run a bit better going forwards. Pinfari. This Italian manufacturer made a lot of compact coasters, and the worst is RC48 at Wade Shows. This ride does so many things wrong. You have hard seats, so the bumpy valleys are painful on your bottom. You have over-the-shoulder harnesses, so the imperfect directional changes cause headbanging. And you have a hard stop at the end, so that caused my knee to smack the metal grab bar in front of me. Premier Rides. This company specializes in launch coasters, and none are bad. My least favorite though is Backlot Stunt Coaster at Canada's Wonderland. This one specifically is less theming than the versions at Kings Island and Kings Dominion. The layout is fine for a family coaster though, between the forceful helix at the start and the small pops of airtime. Reverchon. This manufacturer is another one that specializes in compact rides. The worst ride they've made is any spinning Wild Mouse that has had the spinning disabled. This ruins a key element of the ride, and it makes the second half uncomfortable. You really need to watch your head on the side of the vehicle. Rocky Mountain Construction, or RMC. This manufacturer built a reputation converting old wooden coasters into dynamic hybrid coasters, and nearly every ride they've touched is the best at their respective park. Their worst ride is still great, but that would be Stunt Pilot at Silverwood. This has a similar layout to the original Raptors, but a few elements have been reprofiled and toned down. Still, it has some epic drops in the back row, excellent pacing, and super smooth tracking. The Roller Coaster Corporation of America, or RCCA. This infamous wood coaster manufacturer made a lot of rough rides. The worst I've experienced is Coaster Express at Parque Warner Madrid. This ride was recently retracked, so it is a bit better now, but it is still a rough overall experience, and the layout is terrible to begin with, as it consists of a lot of big sweeping turns devoid of forces. SBF Visa. This manufacturer is best known for their spinning coasters, specifically their smaller ones. but their worst ride is the Viking roller coaster at Energylandia. This is a larger spinning wild mouse that inexplicably operates with over-the-shoulder restraints. This causes headbanging on the laterals in the first half, and some painful moments in the final few directional changes. Schwarzkopf. This company made a lot of great compact coasters, but Nightmare Crackaxle Canyon at Great Escape was not one of them. This was an indoor Jetstar. The ride had been relocated several times, and it did not track well. Then the darkened environment made it impossible to brace for the low turns, adding additional discomfort. Then this ride had putrid capacity due to braking issues. Skyline Attractions. The first 3 coasters this company ever produced have all closed, including Harley Quinn Crazy Coaster at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. This Skywarp rattled incessantly, which was extremely uncomfortable given the bulky over-the-shoulder restraints and the disorienting motion. S&S Worldwide. This company specializes in thrill coasters, and they've made some weird ones, but their worst is easily Hellcat at Clementon Park. The park tried adding a trim brake to the first drop, but the ride is still brutal, and now the once plentiful airtime has been severely dampened. This ride is admittedly tolerable in the front row, but my back row ride a few years ago was a painful jackhammering mess start to finish. It is one of the worst single rides I've had in any coaster. It is so bad that the park no longer even allows guests to ride in the back 2 cars. Togo. This Japanese manufacturer gets a lot of flack, but I actually like their coasters. The worst I've been on was Momonga's standing and loop coaster at Yomiuri Land. This was not a bad ride, the loop was actually forceful, but the coaster did not do too much else, and it was an extremely short ride. Vekoma. This company built a reputation for easily clonable rides that unfortunately were on the rougher side. They made a lot of bad suspended looping coasters or SLCs through the years, but the worst has to be Blue Tornado at Gardaland. This one tracks poorly, and the restraints are different than usual. Rather than having the cushy foam padding, this one had hard restraints. This made the constant headbanging super painful. Wiegand. This manufacturer mostly makes mountain coasters, but they have some additional models. One such ride is their worst, the Ski Lift Shootout Coaster at Rowdy Bear Ridge. This one's not rough. It is more awkward. You have a rather slow outdoor coaster where you fire at these 2D targets. The ride system would be fine for an enclosed dark ride, but it's nearly impossible to tell where you're firing on this one. Wisdom Rides. This manufacturer specializes in kiddie coasters. One truly awful one was Tiger Express at the Washington State Fair. This ride tracked poorly, causing uncomfortable jolts with each lap. And unfortunately, this ride gave an excessive number of laps. It seemed like the pain would never end. Zamperla. This manufacturer upped their game in recent years, but Mighty Mouse by Wade shows is not their best showing. This is a spinning wild mouse that barely spins. It is more like an extremely slow rotation, which spoils the main selling point of the ride. Zier. This manufacturer has made a variety of coasters through the years, but their worst is easily Vol de Care at Parc Asterix. Most of this ride is tolerable, but unspectacular, but the finale is absolute torture. The final brakes abruptly bring the train to a full stop. You sit in line with a T-bar harness, so when that full stop happens, your groin will take a beating. It is one of the worst moments on any coaster. So those are my least favorite coasters from different manufacturers, past and present. What are your thoughts on my picks? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this ranking video, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.